go by the name of Infant, Big 604 classes in session. I want to introduce you all to the urban scholar himself, Yusuf. Class in session.
Class is in session. Yeah. Class is in session. Class is in session. Ask me a question. Class is in session. Class is in session. Class is in session. Ask me a question. It gets massive in seconds. I'm on task with the message. We gon' talk about the past and the present. Hey, ask me a question. Yeah, these facts be the weapons. Ask me a question. Yeah. Class is in session. Class is in session. Class is in session. Ask me a question. Yeah. Class is in session. Class is in session. Class is in session. Ask me a question.
Hey, class in session. It's your favorite host, the Urban Scholar. We got a special guest tonight, a real special guest, and this is a very historic moment here, right? Because this is our first live interview. She's our first guest on Class in Session, and I'm not going to introduce her. I'm going to let her introduce herself since she's the famous writer and she loves to talk about herself.
Yes,
So I'm going to allow my family, welcome to Class in Session. Let the people know who you are.
Thank you very much. I am Kemetic Kem. History background, Kemetic Kem. I'm in the process of writing books. I have a business that I run as far as metaphysical science with meditation, understanding what metaphysical science is, and just being able to be open and understanding to a different broad and spectrum of reality.
Welcome. Thank you for the introduction.
Thank you very much.
Y'all don't know, we're friends on social media, and she posted a post that really caught my attention. I felt like this was a subject that we really needed to talk about and highlight, and I wanted to bring it to all my listeners. And I'm going to ask her to read the post out, and then we're going to go into a discussion about it.
All right, here's a post. People raised off of love should not date people raised off of survival. If you were raised off of survival, please stay away from me. I was raised off of love, and I'll do anything for you. The problem is, with you being raised off of survival, you'll do anything for you too. The two don't mix.
Oh, man. So we just had a little chit chat about that before we went live, and that is profound.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let her really elaborate and break down what that really means, and then I'm going to give my spill on it, and we're going to have a dialogue about it, and we're going to talk about actual relationships and situations, because class in session, the people want to know. So let's break down what that post means. What was going through your mind when you posted that?
I loved it. The fact that, first of all, I know it's going to go over a lot of people's heads, and they're not going to understand being raised off of love opposed to raised off of survival. The different tactics, the different measures, the different family boundaries and settings and stabilities and incomes, and all of that falls into place with with this particular situation. And raised off of love. What is that? Like, what is love? Because everybody's got their own interpretation of what love is. You know what I mean? Like, for me, love is universal. Love is a smile. Love is a hug. Love is kind words. I grew up in a household where you were told you were beautiful. You were told you can do and be anything you want to be. Absolutely. You were told your possibilities are limitless. Survival. Whole nother story. Survival is when, listen, there's no food. It's 12 of y'all. Ain't no food. We got whoever get to the cereal box first is who. And if you wasn't here when that cereal was poured, you didn't get to eat. Or you had to go figure something else out to eat.
Yes.
No pun intended. But I've heard people eat mayonnaise sandwiches, and I never understood that. That's survival. Abuse. Whether it was verbal, physical, or emotional. And, a lot of people can stand up and say two-family homes are much more vibrant. It is very much more stable, but that can also be a problem. Just because you got two parents don't mean it's 100% raised off of love. So it's so many different variations to that particular post, I wanted to put it out there to see who would bite at it and who would be able to understand or say something about it to let me know that people are able to relate to love and survival.
Wow, that was deep. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about how I was raised. So my parents never told us they loved us. Most of our entire life up until well into adulthood. Back in sometime in the 2000s, my mom, she had a heart attack. And I said to myself, I don't ever want to live with the idea of me never telling my mom I loved her. And seeing how I am with my family, you wouldn't even know that I grew up in a home where we didn't say that. We didn't hug each other. We didn't do any of those things. There were no terms of endearment. It was just straight talk. It was all reality. The realest reality show you'll ever be a part of. And you would think that I'll be affected by or affected in a way that I would be torn apart or low self-esteem. But I understood as I got older and I started doing the knowledge that my parents come from a different time. Even my father, he was about maybe 10, 12 years older than my mom. So he's born in the 30s, she was born in the 40s. So those two decades, a lot happened, right? So I started doing my research in history, and I said, wow, they came all the way up here after growing up in Mississippi.
Okay.
Of all places, and we all know the history there, right?
Right.
So they came up here to forget that shit. And my father told me his father made him go to work when he was in 5th, 6th grade. He had to drop out of school. Joe Nash said, Joe Nash. I'm Joe Nash.
You find out.
Right? He said, you gotta get out of my house. You gotta go to work. That. So there was no school for him. My father got like a 5th, 6th grade education. He learned how to read and write by going to church, reading the Bible and all that stuff. He don't have no education. And he took very good care of us. Wouldn't shake my hand, wouldn't hug me, wouldn't do anything. I remember I tried to shake that joker hand and give him a little homeboy hug. He spent off on me. So it's deep.
No emotions.
But the one thing I knew is that both my parents loved me.
That's right.
I learned their love language.
I love that.
You understand?
I love that.
And I started talking to my brothers and sisters about it and saying, hey, chill. This is how they love.
This is how they function.
Right? And they're survivors. And they never told us their story. And my father had no intentions on ever telling his story. My mother had no intentions on telling hers. They're from 2 different parts of Mississippi, 2 hours away from each other. You know, so that post, man, growing up on love, how do you identify love?
Because everybody's got their own love language.
Exactly. So I always tell people, y'all don't know what love is. We so busy reading Webster, guiding us, right? And the Creator has his own language, right? And if you're not connected, you don't vibrate, right? Your energy is not right. You're probably going to have this skewed idea because a lot of us been in situations where love, right, wasn't taught.
You're right.
It was showed. So when my father paid that mortgage,
that was love.
And my mother got up and took her shopping and bought us everything we wanted.
Got up and cooked that meal.
That was love. When
and
she
nobody
whooped
was
my
hungry.
ass,
That's right.
That was love. I never was mad at my mom for whooping me, even though she whooped me before I was 12. And I look back and I said, dang, that was the wrong time to whoop me. But I still have enough understanding to know that I was doing shit.
Yeah.
And I wasn't mad at her.
All right, so confession.
This is the place.
I only got 5 beatings in my life.
Oh, shit. I don't even know how many I got.
And those were like, I only had 1 major traumatic beating that said, I will never do that again. Everything else was like a pop, like,
My mother had this belt, and there was a hallway that went to an open area and then to the bathroom. But that hallway, it had not a mountpiece, it had a hook. And she had this black leather belt with straps. So when the belt hit you, the straps was coming. So you got the belt
Belt?
got you and the strap
Ooh.
strapped around you. And you would be sitting there waiting. And we would itch for about 3 or 4 days.
Ooh.
My mom was about that life. But she wouldn't let my father discipline us.
She did it.
She did it.
Okay.
She would say, these are my kids.
Nobody's
So
gonna hit
they
them.
was at war
Over the discipline?
over life, their relationship.
Okay.
See, that's the piece a lot of people don't get. Because we have children now, right?
Right.
And some of us have children with multiple people, right? And some of those situations wasn't good situations,
Not at all.
right? So our parents,
I can
right,
see mine wasn't.
was in the situation.
Different timings they stayed together.
I have 3 siblings,
Right.
half. Father had children before he came to New Jersey,
Okay.
right? And I have a brother my age, but he's younger than me,
I have siblings
right?
outside of my mother's.
So there were things going on. See, these are things people don't like to talk about.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah.
So I'm transparent. It doesn't bother me because I'm at peace with my parents. They were the best. I wouldn't trade them in the world or the situations.
Or ask for somebody
You know what I'm
else.
saying?
You got that right.
So, and they were at peace with me when they passed away. You know what I'm saying? So I live a very content life. I'm good. I don't do a lot of crying. I don't even, I teared up the other day. Right, my brother, he made a comment on my YouTube, class and session, Najee, and for some reason I started tearing up. I think it was this morning or yesterday. I said, "Damn, tearing up."
But it's okay.
Because
let me
obviously
get
I
there.
haven't cried in so long.
Let me get there. And I'm not a crybaby. I was rough and tough.
Yeah,
I'm sweet and soft now.
I'm sure some of y'all know.
But it's okay to cry.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is. You know what? It is so therapeutic to let it out.
Yes.
I held so much in for so many years and didn't deal with what was in front of me. That 10, 20, I ain't gonna go too far, I tell you too much of my age. Whoa. Years later,
Yeah.
I'm still affected by something.
Mm-hmm.
And not until I went through my healing process was I able to say, it's all right to cry. And I don't cry, big time now, but I cry more than I've ever cried in my whole entire life now.
I had a couple of moments over the years since my mom passed, where my mom passed in 2012, my father was in 2015, going into 16. And there was times where I would be in the shower and I would try to cry because I wanted to cry.
But you couldn't.
It just wouldn't come out.
I'm going to tell you.
So it's not that I'm fighting it.
I fought it.
I don't know why I'm not able to bawl out and go, ah! You know what I mean?
My mother was rougher than me, times 100. So she got in my face, and when she would say to me, "What the F you crying for? God gave you a mouth, you better open your mouth and speak." I can't understand what you're saying.
It was
crying.
frowned upon.
You understand what I'm saying?
It was frowned because to them it was a sign of weakness.
Oh, and you couldn't show no weakness in my house. You had to be strong.
Exactly.
Something occurred, you sit down and you talk. Civilized was the word they used, okay? You had to be civilized and you had to sit down and talk about it. We were taught to sit down and be able to express ourselves without being emotional.
Absolutely.
And that's just not life.
So that's how I indirectly learned. Like I said, we were never told we was loved. But like I said, my mom had that heart attack. I said it to her and she said it back.
Right.
But my father, he never told us. But I said it to him when I was with him a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was making him uncomfortable, but I was with him for 3 months in Mississippi,
Mm-hmm.
in the hospital, in the rehab. And I would say, I love you, and just walk out. Because I needed to say that before he
My
left.
grandmother was
Yeah.
the one who didn't use that word.
And my father never said it.
Now, I got hugs and kisses and all types of other things. But that word didn't come from her.
See, I never connected to my mother's mother. I met her a few times.
Mm-hmm.
She was still in Mississippi and she still worked for them people. She got up early every morning and left and went and took care of
Mm-hmm.
her family. So when I would go down there, we never connected with her. She was like a stranger to me.
Wow.
There was no physical, nothing. I remember we broke her swing on the porch, and I thought all hell was going to break loose. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But she never really talked to me the couple of times that I saw her. My father's mother, like I said, we went down Mississippi a couple of times, and between him and my brother, they would bring her up to New Jersey maybe a couple of times. I used to play cards with her.
Okay.
We connected. She used to cook breakfast down there in Duck Hill, Mississippi.
Duck Hill?
Yeah.
All right.
That's where my father's from. My mother's from Pachuta.
Never heard of neither one.
Yeah. So Pachuta is next to Meridian, and Duck Hill is next to Grenada.
Okay, I've heard of those two.
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, they down there in the trenches. But my father's mother, my paternal grandmother, that we had a small connection when we would be around each other.
Mm-hmm.
There was love. She expressed it to me, like she showed me, and
That's
we
what's
were connected. But my mother's mother, cold as ice.
My grandmother didn't use the word, but she showed affection.
Yeah.
And we called her the drill sergeant. Okay, me and my sister growing up, we used to sing the little Rags to Riches song.
Yeah.
Because every Saturday morning, she got up, she cooked a lavish meal. And we used to always say, how did she get that? Because we would wait to try to see what our chore was. And we could never figure out when she would put that chore list up on that refrigerator. And by the time you finished eating, that was the one day you didn't have to clean your table up. The one to go ahead, because she was going to take the whole kitchen apart anyway.
Business.
But by the time you got to your room thinking you're going to go lay down, your sheets off the bed, your curtains pulled down, and you got the bucket.
Never got that deep for me.
Listen, now I used to always say, thought she was being funny and favoritizing. Because I always had to clean this one wall. I'm tired of cleaning walls. What the hell? As I got older, when I had kids and my grandkids, and I'm like, you clean right there. Why I got to clean right there? Because that's your handprint. You always walking through the house touching the wall, and the wall's dirty because of you. And that was the joke. On top of you. Yeah, that was the joke. But she showed me a lot. She took me back into her time. She told me a lot. I was able to understand things that a lot of my peers were not able to understand because they didn't have that extra information.
Yeah.
And I was raised in a house, and I was the baby. So it was dope. It was dope. I'm sorry, it was dope. I was the baby.
I was too.
Me and my sister 5 years apart, so we ain't got nothing in common. You know what I mean? So the world is mine, and I grew up like that.
Yeah, me too.
And
my brother and sister hated me. They hated me.
My cousin and my sister, because
my sister still hated me.
Yeah, but she taught me so much that I turned around and taught my children, and now I'm teaching my grandchildren, and I'm keeping it flowing. Yeah. To me, that's love also.
Yeah. See, you know what I love about, even though I didn't have a close connection or spend a lot of time with them, I appreciated both my grandmothers because, one, her ethics, her work ethic, even when she was home, she just was about business.
Yep.
Right? And I respected that, and I was scared of her, But it just never, my parents didn't make an effort for us to have a relationship with their moms. My grandfather, I don't know who my mother's father was. She never talked about him. There's no pictures. It was never even mentioned.
Jeez.
And my grandfather, Joe Nash, I know who he is because my father kept a picture of him. He had passed away before I was born.
See, that's what happened with me.
So I don't have a grandfather connection.
Right.
Right? So that's why I'm very family oriented. I want to be, my mother and father were the what do you call it?
Matriarchs.
Of their families on both sides.
How did I turn out to be the youngest? I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off. But how did I turn out to be the youngest and I'm the matriarch?
I am too. That's how it is.
I ain't asked for that position.
I'm my mother's baby.
I embrace it.
Shout out to Slim and Kate. You produced the GOAT.
It's
so listen, it's real. So
I love it,
that's why I felt like that post was important, because when we're entering relationships, you got to know the difference between a person that was raised off love, that really understand love, versus a person that come out of survival. And in the city we grew up in, a lot of people came up off survival
Yes, they
because
did.
they didn't have it.
Inside.
And I was blessed.
Right.
My father and mother didn't make a lot of money, but you think we was
That's how
you
I
think
felt.
we
And
was
we lived in
the
the
Cosbys
projects.
or something.
Yeah, grew up in
You
the
know?
projects.
So
I didn't understand poverty or
Absolutely.
anything like that because inside the household, that wasn't nothing that was shown. You
so
know,
and for us, like we lived in a house, but my mother met my father when she was young.
mm-hmm.
So they was in them streets when we was babies.
Gotcha.
So my aunt in Building 4 raised us.
Mm.
I went to Lord Sterling pre-K, K, all the way up to 4th grade, and they kicked me out because they found out my address wasn't Building 4,
See
176.
Somebody did
So
that.
they put me out, and that's how I got disconnected to all the brothers, my homies.
Right.
And my sister left because my mother was like, well, you got to go where your brother going. They found out I ain't lived down there, but not her.
Wow.
So I think she had a chip on her shoulder, my mom, because she didn't want to leave. You know, Lord Sterling was our life.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Miss Hammond, Mr. Payne, and everybody, so we got disconnected from that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but also felt like that was the thing that saved me. I mean, I
Get with
still
that.
hung down there, you know, I
But
still
you
was
didn't
out
live
there,
there.
but I never stopped going down there. I just stopped going to school there, but it changed my dynamics because I met different people,
Mm-hmm.
and they was into stuff. I met dudes from uptown and stuff like that, and it kind of broadened me. So when all those things started happening around the city, I stayed out of it because I knew everybody,
Yeah.
and I had my parents. My father wasn't letting me, even though I was thugging on my own way.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing things. I just wasn't trying to be no gang, like in no group.
Who
Like,
I was.
if I had beef, I handled it. You know what I mean?
You know me, cousins. Listen, whoever I was on the streets, I was none of that in the house.
Of course
Okay?
not.
Now, you know,
Listen,
I was none of
I
that.
can't even tell stories on here because people even know all my business.
They thought I
There's things I
couldn't
can't
do no
even
wrong.
talk about.
My grandmother thought I couldn't do no wrong.
Yeah, me too.
I found out earlier she was just appeasing my
My
soul.
mother was like-
later on.
My mother was looking at me like I was crazy. She thought I was getting into trouble because I was, you know, I was a disrespectful kid, but you know, I was her baby. She could never see me in no situation where I was doing dumb stuff out there. You know,
I did
I
too.
robbed a few jokers, you know, here and there.
I plead the fifth for all the things
it
I've
depends
done.
my mood. Not like some old I'm gonna take somebody's stash.
No, I know what you mean.
I'm gonna go in if
In
you
your
got money in
face.
your pocket, I'm like, let me get that.
I've done that to
You
a
know
guy.
what I mean? Because I was bored, not
Mhm.
because I wanted to be some roughneck killer. Like, you know how it was out here. You get bored, you don't know what you're going to get into. And I ain't going to
Something
talk
gonna
about the stuff I
happen.
did with the homies from down the way. You know, I ain't going to mention their names. I ain't going to incriminate nobody. Shout out to 176, man.
176.
Wow.
Me and my sister, you know, growing up, we went to private school.
Wow.
There was noses like that inside my household. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to finally tell the truth.
Wow.
I'm going to tell the truth.
Wow.
I will admit it, and if my sister ever sees this, I'm sorry. I got us kicked out of private school. The nun came over. The girl kept sitting in my seat.
Oh, man.
I told her don't do it no more because I didn't know how to share. Like, I'm being real with you. I didn't know how to share because everything was mine. And I told her don't do it again, and she did it again, and I did something stupid. The lady hit me with a paddle. I popped her. My mother came up, there was a problem, and we got kicked out. I had to go to Lord Sterling.
So y'all was like Tupac. Classical and all that other shit, but on radio,
Piano
Wax, he
and
was a
drums.
thug. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because everybody swear Tupac grew up like a thug. Nah.
Yeah.
You know, he had that whole side to him.
I played the piano.
Yeah, he
drums,
was
the
he was a
tuba.
real artist.
I was in acting classes.
Completely talented.
And here's the weird part about it. That wasn't cool where I was living.
Of course not. You would have got laughed at.
I got told by people, you lying, you ain't do that. And I'm looking like,
Listen, my sister played the violin at Lord Sterling. And I'm mad that she stopped because I might not have to work today if
look
that
at us
ass would
now.
have kept
We can
going.
still do it, right? There's things out there we still can do and get into.
Big shout out to Lord Sterling, man. They produce some ghosts.
Listen, you ever had to get walk home?
Not really, but we ain't had that far to walk.
No, I had to get walked home. It's not my fault.
Across the street, you home.
It's not my fault. They shouldn't have let me watch Sanford and Son. And Esther kept calling him a bow-eyed fool. And he done pissed me off one day in school, and I called him a bow-eyed fool. He grabbed my arm so tight.
Not Mr. Payne.
Yes, I did.
Oh, not the homie.
Yes, I did. I didn't want to be in that
the
school.
original Joe Clark.
And what messed me up is
Yo.
I didn't know he knew my grandmother.
Oh yeah, he knew everybody.
He said, hey, he didn't call her Miss Matchett. He said, hey, Mary Frances. I said,
oh, damn. He was the first name.
And they had the nerve to sit down and have, I don't know if it was coffee or tea.
Tea and coffee, something.
I'm thinking she gonna kick my behind.
That's crazy.
But I got on punishment a lot. I couldn't go outside. And then that's when they started throwing all the books at me. It's an encyclopedia right here. Pick up that encyclopedia and start writing the definition.
They knew what they was doing.
Go over it. And then I was
planting those seeds.
Yeah. But look at me now.
Yeah. So that's a good segue. I want to kind of work on wrapping it up, but I want you to really talk about your latest journey, right? Kemetic Kem. I want you to really tell the people what brought you to this place and what is your plan, because I believe you're a priest now, right?
A high priestess.
A high priestess.
Yes.
So talk about that.
Okay. I have always been into African spirituality because it was taught in the home. Okay. And don't forget, we lived in the projects, and you had the 5%ers, you had the Muslims, you had it all through the hood, no matter where you went.
The nation.
You know?
Yeah.
At 9 years old, I had somebody give me my first lessons. You know? Gave my first lessons. I'm 9. I'm thinking, you want me to do what? Okay, I'm going to do it. So I have been evolving in this for a very long time. There was a period of time where I gave things up and I went to my turbans and wore the African clothes, and people were just looking at me like, what's wrong with her? Ain't nothing wrong with me. I feel good.
I've seen you over the years on your journey.
Yeah.
I've
been doing this for years. This ain't just happened.
Yeah,
It's been going on.
I wasn't shocked at all.
You know, now I'm fully committed. Anyway, my journey is when my mother died. I was 18.
Wow.
Like, just nothing.
Wow.
And I remember wanting to do something to help her, but I couldn't. I felt helpless.
Yeah.
And when she passed, I went through something. And I didn't know 10 years went by, and I was still going through something. Until my daughter turned around and said, Mommy, you haven't been the same since your mother died. And it was 10 years later, and it felt like she stabbed me.
But it's real.
It was real, but I didn't know it.
That's a different kind of change.
And at that point, I said, you know what? I want to get into me. I want to know everything about myself. I never want to lose myself again. I never want to be sitting somewhere in a dark space or a dark corner for years, and the world and my life just passes me by.
So, question.
Yes.
So, what specifically was it? Was it your daughter confronting you or bringing it to your attention?
Her.
Like, what was the incident that?
She brought it to my attention.
And it made you look at yourself from the
Oh,
inside.
baby, it made. Cause see, every day we get up and we look at the mirror when we brush our teeth.
Yeah,
You
we
better
look
be
good
brushing
on the
your teeth,
outside.
right? You better be in there looking, brushing your teeth. But have you ever? I call it the mirror challenge. Have you ever sat in the mirror and just give yourself 5 minutes and just look at yourself? What do you see?
Really look.
Really look. You're gonna start hearing yourself. That's you. Saying all types of things. Oh, eyes, I got the bags, or my chin, or maybe I should do this, or da. Your mind, you start hearing it because now you're focusing and honing into yourself. And from that point, I said, if I can work on me and get me right, then I want to help other people. Right?
You started that journey.
I never ever believed in religious sectors. I just didn't. Again, Catholic school, Methodist Baptist household. My grandfather was a Muslim. One of my uncles was doing 5% at the time. It's all over. You know what I mean? I, as a young girl, I was able to analyze a lot from seeing different people functioning in religion. And I'm saying, what's wrong with these grown folks? They all fighting about the same person. Doesn't make sense to me. So I went on a journey to find out how I felt about the Creator, the Most High, God, and that's where the metaphysics came in. Everything that I learned in metaphysics, I already knew.
So, what's the core belief in metaphysics, or is there a core belief? Because like in Christianity, they believe in the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost,
Nature,
right?
life,
so metaphysics,
reality.
Because people don't know.
Yeah,
people
it's
don't know.
Simple, the basic, simple nature. You understand how a seed is planted and how once you water it and the stages and phases.
So there's like no God figure or anything.
To some people. Because listen,
That's
you got some
saying.
people who will do metaphysics and then say, I'm a Christian, which I don't understand, but okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, so is it a religion or
no.
a way of life? What is it?
It's a way of life.
Okay.
It's a way of thinking. It's a way of being able to see things for what it really is. We understand there's a mic here, and this mic enhances your voice, but how does the mic enhance your voice?
Yeah.
So metaphysics helps you break down to the very beginning where there's nowhere else to go and be able to come to a solid foundation or answer or whatever to answer to your question, what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So I went on a soul search, and baby, I found me.
That's what's up.
And
so
the person I found was the same person I was.
You just rediscovered yourself. Right. You tapped into your core.
Right.
Which most people don't.
Right.
That's another show. We're gonna have to bring you back for that. But real quick, what would you compare it to if you was to compare it? Because I briefly looked into Taoism, Buddhism, other religions and stuff like that. Would you compare it to any of those major ones, or
nope.
So it's not anything similar to that?
I've never liked rules.
Yeah.
There's no stringent rules in metaphysics, in metaphysical.
So the major ones have rules, but I don't know if Buddhism and Taoism and all of that stuff have that.
They do, but I know
Taoism is like spiritual centered.
Everything for me is spiritual.
Yeah.
If my spirit is not the main focus, then you wouldn't hear my voice, you wouldn't see my hands moving. I would not be alive.
Great.
So why would I go and rep and study and follow and do belief in something that is not of me? And everybody's entitled to.
Nobody can be you but you.
Exactly. And for me, most comfortable thing possible.
Absolutely.
It keeps me on top of me. I am able to sit back and catch myself when I'm slipping. You don't listen, because remember, my daughter caught me slipping for 10 years. You can't catch me no more. I already know.
You want it. You want it.
I'm already done. Listen, before you can come tell me about me, I'm on a 12 things later. You slow. You ain't got to come tell me nothing.
So real quick, how do people contact you or find you on social media?
I have a business page, Kemetic Kem, and it's Kemetic Kem, and you can either inbox me, you can DM me. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and I have my Reverend Kimberly Bailey page on Facebook as well. And I have a few things that I'm working on, like we're working on a meditation channel for YouTube. Also the book, and I'm also in the midst of bringing other people on as such, how you've brought me on to my Kemetic Kem page, because I love writing and I like to bring authors. Well, I don't care what kind of book it is, you know what I mean? As long as it's not ratchet, but you come up and discuss your business. Anybody who's willing to showcase themselves, I'm here for it. Each one teach one, and one hand helps the other. And if you have something, reach out to me, and we can sit down, and you can shoot me an email, do whatever we got to do, and we can make it happen.
That's dope. Is there email you want to leave people?
As I said that, I just thought about it. I'm like, dang, I shouldn't have said that, because we got locked out of my email.
Okay.
So I'm using a personal one right now that I don't want to share.
Okay.
So we'll get that back up and running soon.
So she's on Facebook, she's on TikTok, she's on Instagram, Kemetic Kem, you know what I'm saying? Holla at her, check her out, and we thank you for joining us here in Class in Session.
I appreciate you.
We wish you the best, and we look forward to your book and all those other things, your podcast, your your YouTube launch, all that good stuff. The
Yes.
meditation is important, folks.
Oh, I love it.
So I hope that your favorite host brought you something that you love. I completely enjoyed this interview, and you know what I always say, right? You know the future's urban scholar.
Ashe.